It is your buddy, Peace and Harmony, with you here today. Much love going out to all the beautiful empowered harmonizers. And we're zooming in and focusing in on a great viewer question. And that is really, how do you deal with a covert narcissist? Someone who is malignant in terms of their withholding. They are stonewalling you. They are giving you the silent treatment. They're essentially ignoring you, and this is really sort of hurting your feelings, and you're really negatively impacted. And so I want to zoom in and focus in on this and help you to understand the correlation of the personality trait of a covert narcissist and how they are involved in really the lack of empathy that is the problematic issue with this personality type. And we keep coming back to this again and again, along with a pathological sense of self-importance, and coupled with a lack of empathy. The manipulation towards others oftentimes is manifested, especially in the covert narcissist, in terms of withholding, holding back of affection, holding back of communication, not allowing the air to clear. And it causes a lot of crazy making, brainwashing, gaslighting, and hurt feelings, and essentially really what becomes like a playing pretend with them. It's very difficult to articulate this and hold them accountable when there is a lack of communication. They're just not open. They just don't have the time. They don't have the eye contact. They're not at really sort of receptive. And as we know in psychology, if someone is not receptive to changing, then they are not going to change. They don't, especially with a narcissist, because of their pathological sense of self-importance, they feel like they have essentially done nothing wrong. It's in one ear, out the other with them. They don't really see the role that they have to play in hurting others. They can't see it, they can't sense it, they can't feel it. And if you discuss this with them, they're going to eventually, assign blame to you. Well, you should be more educated. Well, you should be tougher. Why are you so sensitive? Why are you making a big deal out of this? What do you need from me? You constantly are, needy. And then they sort of project this, and because of the withholding, they're overcompensating, and then overreacting and saying basically you're the one who has the problem. Basically that's what it boils down to. They're not accountable. They're not going to sort of fess up or hear you out. They're not going to take blame. They just have the ego. So they're all really about that egocentric mentality, and they're always going to come out looking good. And they're going to try to continue to look good in your eyes, and that's what hurts so much, is they're not really taking accountability for the steps that they have withdrawn or not been there for you, and have been sort of under the radar, the very sort of quiet rage that they tend to enact, and you don't really get to know them. You feel that you're not really, you don't know them, and so really the red flag then is becoming this sort of playing pretend with them. In other words, it's you have to bury the hurt feelings to such an extent, and then you just keep going on and on, because they cause you to stay in this rut or this pattern, this negative self-defeating pattern of behavior. So what's really crucial to understand in terms of how to deal with it is literally your self-talk, and it is to say no more. Zero, I'm not putting up with this anymore. I'm not engaging in the relationship. You're not getting my time, energy, affection, eye contact, my cooking, my gifts, my time. I'm not cooking your dinner, cleaning your bed, whatever it is that you're involved in terms of your supply role, the activity that you're engaged in, you need to stop that right away. And this is when you can then begin to see, well, what is the payoff that I'm getting by enabling the relationship? You're disabling yourself by engaging in this sort of pretend, or it doesn't bother me, or I'm just going to carry on and put up and shut up and stay in the relationship. Because when you do that, you're just digging a hole deeper for yourself, and you begin this sort of feeling that something is wrong. But if you are not attending to your needs, if you're not attending to your inner voice, if you're not sort of taking time out for that and you're just carrying on day by day by day, you are in a tolerance mode, and coping and tolerance is not living. If you're constantly coping, there's something else going on, which is like the pinprick. It's like the sliver under your skin. Eventually you need to get it out, and it's like a callus that becomes so uncomfortable, you just have to, you have to get it off. It's like having a callus on your foot or your hand. Eventually you want to shave it off. You want to get down to feeling so that you become more comfortable. And so it is this abrasiveness which begins to build up the callus. And really a covert narcissist will have this sort of callousness or this indifference, and things just don't really matter. There's an insensitivity that is part of the issue. And so if you battle it out with them, if you always duke it out and try to cope by pointing the finger, you are so callous, you're ignoring me, if you're doing that, once again, you have to remember with the personality disordered individual, they're not seeing their role in things, at least in the here and now. And at least in the here and now, they're not going to admit it, have admittance and say, I'm sorry, I see, how that has been so difficult for you. I see where this has not satisfied your needs. You're not going to hear these from this person, because of a true covert narcissist will lack empathy. In other words, the words of empathy would say, oh, I'm sorry, I see where this has been a burden to you, where I have been, not helping you out here, or I haven't met you in the middle, or I've been apathetic here, or I've been despondent, or I haven't been doing my list here. I haven't been accountable to you, and I see how this is negatively impacted, and I do see my role here. And okay, let's change this so things work out for the best for the both of us. That is empathy. Empathy will change. Empathy will say, okay, I can see how this is, I don't want to hurt anybody, so I will change my ways. I can do that. So it's having a sense of security and not an ego to not always be in the right. In other words, to be receptive, to see how this has been a negative influence, and then be willing to change and adapt. Why should you always be the one to take on the hurting? Why should you always be the one to take on the blame? Why should you always be the one who's adjusting and adapting to a profoundly sick relationship? So you have to ask yourself and get clear with yourself and understand that within yourself, and really persuade yourself and understand that you have done enough. You have done enough of the adjusting and adapting to say, enough is enough. I need to take care of me now. And that can be a big responsibility to understand and to take on, especially if you have been in a codependent or enabling relationship, or been around a unhealthy individual who has caused this maladaptation within you, and has caused this acting in, or has caused this despondency and unhappiness and unfulfillment. So if you've repeated this feeling for weeks and months and years, then it's not going to be undone overnight. But the self-talk you need to say is, understand yourself, that the time is here and now to take care of you and to vocalize your needs. And then furthermore, begin your affirmations. I am important. I am worth it. I deserve better. I deserve respect. I deserve this now. And once you make these proclamations, you are then arriving at your truth. And the truth, which will embolden you, emblazon you, and get you on fire, it'll eventually become your passion. So it initially feels like anger, or upset, or I can't believe this is happening to me, or you're now having the statements, I wasted years of my life, and you're living in this regret. Eventually you need to put that behind you, because that's only a disempowering feeling state. And it's to say, I've allowed things, so you need to be the bigger woman, you need to be the bigger man. You need to say, and acknowledge and validate your role in this and saying, I've allowed this to happen. I have allowed myself, and I'm responsible and accountable for myself with where I am at right now. I mean, yes, there were troubled issues behind you. Yes, it was not fair. Yes, it was wrong. No, you're not the crazy one. No, you can see clearly now. The rain is gone. The fear, obligation, and guilt is gone. The fog is gone. If you could then take responsibility and accountability for yourself. So knowing that you're responsible. So in other words, if you were strong enough and you were capable enough, and move on, I would really, really love to. So you need to ask yourself that. If I was strong enough and I was capable enough, I would really begin changing my life by doing. And then fill in 1 through 10. Fill in 1 through 10. This is your truth. This is your inner voice, which has been sort of buried along a covert narcissist relationship. The one thing that I find with a lot of people who have been sort of held back and made small, live less than their capability, is the fact that they are not living in their truth. There is a sort of self-sabotage, a self-denial, a sort of making small and sort of, pretending it doesn't hurt when it does. So it's to get out of this pretend mode and to get it real. It's to keep it real. In other words, lack the denial. In other words, stop sweeping it under the rug. I mean, so many people have swept it under the rug. They can't even have a place to stand in their own life because the denial is so great. Everything is unstable because they're on such rocky footing and rocky road. They've swept so much under the rug that they cannot even walk with grace in their own life and then engage in the positive, orderly direction, thinking, feeling, behaving, and becoming because of this. But yes, it can change. Yes, it can stabilize. Yes, your foundation can be there within you. And that's the goal. That's the shift of energy, which is to your truth. And then so the solution, the thought patterns, like we say, Dr. Joe Dispenza, we think between 70 to 90,000 thoughts a day, and 95% of those are the same as the previous day. So your solution now is to, how do you deal with it? Which is to say, enough is enough. I'm not looking to them. I'm not pointing any more fingers. I'm not trying to engage this person in the solution. If you try to engage this person in the solution, a solution you will not have, because you're trying to adapt to a profoundly sick relationship that's making everything dysfunctional, and you know it. But you can't point to the source of the dysfunction and say, this is making this dysfunctional. It's like trying to pull up a virus on your computer and saying, please clean my hard disk. It's, my hard drive. It's not going to happen. That's not where we need to go to clean the slate. That's not where we need to go to fix our computer. We need to look to ourselves 100%. Notice I didn't say 50%. Notice I didn't say 75%, 100%. It's all right here, guys. It's all underneath your skin, your heart, your brain, your mindfulness, your metacognition, your ability to reframe things and re-identify and create a new identity based on your new I am, what I call the astralmations, followed by the empowering to be feel state, which is gives you, your energy, and it defines you. So you define yourself around your strengths, and this other individual has nothing to do with defining you. You are taking responsibility and accountability. Oh, peace and harmony, that's a big job. Well, amen, because big jobs will give you big results. And we are all about big results in just riding off into the sunset here at Peace and Harmony. We are all about results. We're not here to trash. We're not here to judge. We're not here to point the finger. We're here to understand, learn, heal, and move on in wisdom and become empowered. Notice we don't call it in weekend misfits. No, it's the empowered harmonizers, which means you're firing up your inner self, your inner light, your inner fire, your inner spark, your inner self, your inner I am, your inner love, your inner enthusiasm, your inner energy, your inner clarity, your inner power. We as human beings literally have power. Peace and harmony. I have never experienced this before. Well, amen, sister, brother. It's about time for you to get in the driver's seat. It's about time for you to get to the good life. It's about time for you to get to a feel-good state. And you can do this when you begin to house that solution within your own heart and being and come into a relaxed, peaceful body. So it doesn't become like, oh my God, you don't have to, be flying off the chandelier. You need to come into a calm, relaxed body, a feel good, just relaxed state where it's like mindfulness meditation. You need to practice this new feeling state within you. And that's why you need to have periods of quiet, such as we focus here on the videos. You need to engage in mindfulness, which is sitting and engaging with, shutting one's eyes and listening to the voice within, getting into some meditation practices. There's all sorts of those here on YouTube. You can take a course in meditation. You can read a book. You can find these to yourselves that speak or ring true to you. Mindfulness is a common practice, which is also known in psychology as metacognition. But, mindfulness is cultivated. It is exercised like a bicep, In other words, it ain't there until you work it. You don't really have it engaged. But mindfulness is really a necessary requirement. No, they didn't teach you this in kindergarten. They did teach you to take a nap. Naps are wonderful, but you do need to engage in practice mindfulness meditation in order to cope and get into the empowered state. And metacognition, like we've discussed here on the previous videos, is the ability for you to think about what you're thinking about. So it allows you to see and stop the negative thoughts, the negative orderly direction thinking. It's the place in your awareness where you go, whoa, I'm not going to eat all that. Whoa, I'm not going to say all that. Whoa, I'm not going to think all that. Whoa, I'm not going to feel all that. I'm not entering into that, and then that negative, disempowered state where you're defined by the negative or all the harsh feelings. So one of the other, things is you can notice that life becomes very harsh. It becomes very uncomfortable when you're always the target of the blame or the scapegoating or the smear campaign. You need to exit that feeling state. So even if this person is still in your life, you need to disembark from that entirely and then begin to define yourself by the I am. I am love. I am compassion. I am passionate. I am enthusiastic. I am miraculous. I am magnificent. I am sublime. I am amazing. I am inspired. I am inspiring. I am strong. I am resilient. I have an indomitable spirit. I have strength. The I have and the I am are very, very simple ways for you to speak this command in this be state into your physiology. So you can engage in the neuroplasticity, the rewiring and firing of your feeling and your self-talk, your articulation, and really eventually how you begin to feel on a day-to-day basis. But you need to begin to take this direction and command within yourself. Stop engaging the other party for the solution. Begin to embolden yourself and then begin to not only get into that good positive feeling state, but then begin to enter into the action state. So now that I am strong, I'm going to begin to write 1 through 20. You need to write this down, because if you don't begin to write it down, it kind of stays buried from your awareness. So I really believe, and that's really sort of the basis of this channel, is unearthing that true self, that truth, that true spark, that true passion, those interests, those desires, which are sort of lurking underneath the surface. maybe 5 feet, maybe 20 feet, maybe a mile underneath the surface, but your positive self is there. So that's what we want to kind of, dust off, break open, and then have you become in touch with this so that you can live life on your terms, on the positive, and have it sustainable because it is your true self. In other words, you're not living the lie. You're not having to live pretend. You're not having to enable another. Saying no, you can, oftentimes people are so weighted down because they've said yes too much to their defense mechanisms. They've said yes too much to the pathological lying. Oh, well, it doesn't matter that they weren't there for me then. It doesn't matter, I can let that go. That's saying yes too much to self-sabotage. You need to raise your standards and say, I deserve better. And when you do that, what you deserve will then begin to show up. In other words, the feelings of accomplishment, the feelings of self-respect, the feelings of self-esteem, the feelings of self-clarity and being able to communicate, being able to live within your own boundaries and then enforce them simultaneously. In other words, while you're engaging in communication or relations with others, you're able to simultaneously enact these, feel these, sense these, and enforce them. And then you're able to then carry on with behaviors, events, activities, and interests which are surrounded around this positive self-exploration, this self-adventure, where you're then you're using, you're no longer using those old thought patterns, those old feeling patterns. You're now engaging in those new thoughts and feelings where all of a sudden the solutions begin to come out of thin air. That's what we want to get out of. We want to get out of that sort of negative ego state which has been thrust upon you and engaged upon in or enacted and through repetition and experience through this negative relationship, is to exit out of that entirely, hold yourself accountable, and then allow your self-trust to become engaged in self-esteem, not confidence, not where you're still, you're not saying yes to too many defense mechanisms. Well, maybe if I just made a better meal, maybe if I cleaned a better house, maybe if I got a better car, maybe if I got a this or that, all of this is coping. So part of the burden, the depression, which weighs so strongly and disempowers people, is because they've said yes so long to the wrong things. So it is important to have rigorous honesty, saying now I care about myself enough to be rigorously honest, and I know that actually the truth is going to get me where I want. The pretend, the lying, the dysfunction, and trying to look there for the solution, that's not giving me where I want to be. And I can admit that to myself. In the privacy of this video, I'm going to go ahead and confide in myself. I'm going to go ahead and share that with myself, and I'm going to acknowledge that and validate that, and this is safe. So my little secrets now are safe. It's okay for me to release these. It's okay for me to be my best self, because a lot of people have had to hold themselves back, make themselves small and unhappy in order to play second fiddle backseat to this relationship. They haven't been allowed to sort of flourish, grow, expand, because that's really what your life purpose is about. Your life purpose will, send you into directions and adventures where you're becoming more, you're broadening your perspective. You are learning, you're engaging in the awesome. This is awesome and I'm okay. This is fun and it's not sabotaging me. It's not killing me. You hear some of the great rock stars, like Steven Tyler, these people who have come through years and decades of addiction. They're like, I can see now, like I can see the crowd, like they're a lot more humble. They've come out of the lie. They've emerged through, this self-denial, this sort of glass sheet, which has, blurred their vision. They can see things now, and like, they might be in their 60s or 70s, but they're still rocking it. They have found their truth, and they're not going back. So they know, they're seeing that the truth is actually getting them what they want, and then their body is no longer permitting them to abuse themselves in the same way. So perhaps you have reached that same rock bottom in your relationship where your psyche is no longer allowing you to live in this denial state. It's just not happening. It's physiologically, as you move on in life, your body can't work out. You can't ride the 600 miles. You can't do the same things that you used to. You can't take yourself down in that same way. So perhaps you are at that precipice, that crossroads in your life. And so it's to say, I'm going to engage in those new thought behaviors, so those new solutions which I'm arriving at and taking responsibility. I did it all by myself. So, have some of those aha moments. I'm doing it all by myself. I'm doing this for me now. I'm going to go ahead, and now that I know I can make myself happy and it's safe and okay to do this, I'm going to begin to. And then write down 1 through 10. And write this stuff down. Once you write it down, and you need to get it through so it's not centered out like, I don't have the money, someone would disappoint me, someone would be giving me the finger, someone would be giving me the slap on the face, someone would be slamming the door on me. Whatever it is, you're going to have this knee-jerk reaction why you can't be happy. Oh, you're a terrible person. You've heard it a million times from this person. And I know some people have it very bad. You're a terrible person. You are horrible. You are this. You are that. La, 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 la. They're just trying to stamp you with, just all these awful feelings. Let it go. They are not the judge of you. Really, your higher source, you are human. And to err is human, and and that is divine. So you need to understand that all people make mistakes. All people have errors of judgment, but all people really have the ability to be empowered and then rise up and become their greatest self, and apply those lessons learned. So this is your call to duty. This is your call to action, which is to begin to have these new thoughts, new feelings, new behaviors, new choices, new vocabulary, new ways of identifying yourself. Perhaps, you might need to throw out, 2 dumpsters of stuff to get all this out. You might need to move your address. You might need to get a P.O. box. You might need to get a new job. You might need to get a new self-reflection, a new self-embrace. You might need to really take yourself seriously. But once you do, you'll begin to have new thoughts, feelings, and behaviors which were different from what you had patterned in the relationship. And this is your liberation, and this is your positive, orderly direction, thinking, if this is uncomfortable and you're going, this is too good to be true, peace and harmony, then you are on the right path. You're in the right place. Your feet are right beneath you. Begin to continue your steps and begin to pick up speed in that direction, because that is where your truth, your happiness, your purpose, and your passion resides within you, and the universe will embrace you all a while. Please open your eyes and see it today. Open up your heart. You can do it. This is your buddy, Peace and Harmony, with you here today, and I hope that these videos do help. Please share and please subscribe for more great tools, videos, discussion, and support.